Working in China taught me something important. Understanding the rules is often more important than being right. Not because the rules are always perfect, and not because people don't understand situations, but because rules create safety for the system. Let me give you a small example. At my school we have several ways to register attendance. When you enter campus, you scan your face at the gate, and the system records that you are inside. At the same time, you are also required to clock in on DingTalk using your phone. This is the attendance card HR mainly checks. Recently, I missed the DingTalk attendance card twice, not because I wasn't at work, but because my phone battery was dead when I arrived at school. My phone was completely powered off. I still entered the campus normally, scanned my face at the gate, and went straight to teaching. Later, HR contacted me by message and asked if I had forgotten to clock in. From a purely logical point of view, the answer was already in the system. The gate facial scan proved that I was at work, so instead of simply replying yes, I suggested checking that record. That's when the situation shifted. The HR colleague I was talking to became irritated and the conversation started to escalate. And this is where everything went sideways. Not because of what I meant, but because of how it was interpreted. By suggesting that she check the facial scan records at the gate, I suspect I unintentionally crossed an invisible line. What I was actually saying was very simple. There is an alternative way to confirm whether I was at work or not. The data exists, it can be checked. But what you may have heard was something very different. Something closer to, "You don't know how to do your job, go check the system first and then ask questions. Why are you even asking me this?" That was never my intention, but intention matters much less once perception changes. This was the moment I failed to read the system. From that point on, the tone of the messages changed. The communication became formal. Personal explanation was replaced by procedure. I was no longer clarifying a misunderstanding. I was being directed to follow the official rules and processes of the school. I was asked to send a formal email to the principal to confirm that I was indeed at work on those days, and to copy HR. The principal confirmed that the issue was resolved quickly. Not because new information appeared, but because the confirmation followed the correct hierarchy. And this is where the lingering frustration comes in. Even though I understand how and why the system works this way, there is still a small part of me that feels uneasy, because I know for a fact that the HR office can check the gate facial scan records. I know they sometimes do, and even after I explicitly suggested it, they chose not to. Instead of spending a little extra time checking that system themselves, the responsibility was redirected. The work was passed on to me. I was guided through a bureaucratic route that didn't add new information, only formal confirmation. In other words, the system avoided effort and responsibility on one side and created effort on the other. And that's the part that quietly nags at me. Not because I had to send an email, that was easy, but because it felt less like problem solving and more like instruction, almost like being taught a lesson. This is how things are done here. What made it more noticeable was that my request wasn't refused directly. It wasn't explained why the facial scan couldn't be checked. Instead, the conversation simply moved around it, gently but firmly toward the path that had already been chosen. And here I'd like to ask you something. Was it personal, or was it simply the system protecting itself? I really hope it wasn't personal, but I'm genuinely curious what you think about it. If you've worked in similar systems, or if you see the situation differently, please leave a comment and share your perspective. Because in many Chinese workplaces, the goal is not to establish the truth as efficiently as possible. The goal is to make sure everyone follows the same procedures, and that responsibility flows upward, not sideways. Being right didn't matter, following the rule did. And this isn't criticism, it's an observation. Once you understand this, many small frustrations suddenly make sense. You stop expecting the system to meet you halfway, you stop trying to out-logic it, and instead you learn how to move through it. Understanding doesn't erase feeling completely, it just helps you place it. And when you can do that, you move forward with less resistance, less emotional noise, and a much clearer mind. Thank you for watching. I hope you like this kind of content. Please thumbs up, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.